Good evening and welcome to tonight's Brighton Town Board meeting, September 11, 2019. As we all know, the date September 11 has deep meaning in so many ways to so many people. But as we honor the memory of over 3,000 people who were killed that day, of many more who have died since then from the aftermath of the 9/11, whether as law enforcement, construction workers who were poisoned by the debris, and honoring their memory, but also honoring the service of law enforcement men and women who every day work their very hardest to keep us safe. Ambulance, fire personnel. Let us start this meeting by observing a moment of silence in their memory and their honor. Thank you. In Brighton, we particularly honor the memory of Zach Zeng, who, like so many, saw the need and came rushing in when the natural reaction would have been to go away. And Zach, in doing so, lost his life. But his memory, his honor, will live on forever. And I know particularly for the Brighton Volunteer Ambulance, Ken, you were a longtime volunteer. You know how important Zach's service was and the memory that his life leaves behind at a very young age. Okay, we will then begin the meeting. I'd like to start with a pledge to the flag. I'm going to ask Chief Mark Henderson to lead us in the pledge tonight. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Mark. Couple of housekeeping announcements first. As always, in case of an emergency, if the town hall emergency alarm system is activated, you will know it when you hear it, and we would ask that you leave the room immediately, either by the door to my right, marked with the exit only sign. If you take that door, turn right, go down the stairs, out the back door of Town Hall, and move away from the building. Or you can leave through either of the two doors in the rear of the room, also marked with exit signs. In that case, go through the lobby, out the main front door of the lobby of the Town Hall, down the stairs, and away from the building. For those of you that are watching at home live on Spectrum Channel 1303, if during that broadcast you experience technical difficulties with either the audio or the video, please contact Spectrum at 756-5000. Again, that number is 756-5000. I also want to thank our ASL, American Sign Language interpreters, who are here with us tonight. You see Susan Pence signing for us now. Connor Murray is here. Thank you very much for your service. I love these town board meetings. It's an opportunity to interact with people here in the room who have interest in the town, But I got to be honest with you. I have not been looking forward to this town board meeting, because tonight is the last meeting of a man who has been a law enforcement professional for 35 years, back before they had child labor laws, and who has served the Brighton community for about 33 of those years. Tonight is Brighton Police Chief Mark Henderson's last town board meeting. So Mark, I'm going to ask that you join me up at the podium. I have heard from so many people since Chief Henderson announced his retirement. I have heard so many stories of the service that you provided, your professionalism. You showed us tonight a note that you received that speaks for, really, I think, all of the people of the town of Brighton. Our gratitude for the work you have done. We know law enforcement is not a 9-to-5 job. It's not a 40-hour week, and you have walked that talk. You have been here for the Brighton community, on call 24/7, morning, noon, and night, on good days and on bad, and there have been some of each, and you went through your first year or so in, I think Queen Elizabeth used the word a few years back, annus horribilis. And there were some times that first year that it sort of felt like an annus horribilis, not because of anything you didn't do, but because of the kind of challenges that you face, that this community faces, that law enforcement can face. But through it all, you have stood for the people of Brighton. You and every member of the Brighton Police Department have been there to make the quality of life special in this community. And one of the things I hear most when people talk about what makes Brighton special is that they know they're safe. They know that there is a police department that has been led for pretty close to 10 years by someone who has given his heart and soul to policing, specifically to community policing, to the people of this community. So first I want to read a proclamation. Whereas a law enforcement officer for 35 years and chief of the Brighton Police Department for 9, esteemed Police Chief Mark Henderson retires from the town of Brighton, where he distinguished himself during his 33-year tenure. Whereas Chief Henderson made extraordinary contributions to the Brighton Police Department, including a commitment to community engagement and proactive outreach to the town's many faith communities. Whereas, as a highly accomplished professional, Chief Henderson spearheaded the implementation of body-worn cameras for all sworn officers, led the reaccreditation of the Brighton Police Department, chaired the Monroe County Law Enforcement Council, and served as a governor's appointee to the New York State Commission on Accreditation for Law Enforcement. Whereas, given the alarming increase in national incidences of mass shootings and hate crimes, Chief Henderson utilized the connections made through his community engagement initiative for quick preventative responses to threats against Brighton's diverse communities. Whereas a respected ambassador for the town, Chief Henderson put into practice internal policies that support Brighton's values of diversity and inclusion, and his calm demeanor straightforward manner, and dedication to quality, innovative policing will be missed. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that I, William W. Maley, Brighton Town Supervisor, on behalf of myself and very much also on behalf of my colleagues on the Brighton Town Board, do hereby congratulate Chief Mark Henderson on his exemplary career in public safety and wish him all the best as he continues to serve the community in a new and important capacity. This proclamation, and I'll present you with the real proclamation, has been signed this 11th day of November in the year 2019. But as they used to say on TV, wait, there's more. And there is more, because when people walk into this town hall, dedicated and opened in 1953, I often see them out there in the lobby looking at the murals that are up on the wall, telling the history of Brighton, a history that dates back to the Senecas and proceeded forward to 1953. And that is so much a part of the building that you have spent these 33, give or take, a few days, years serving, that we also wanted to give you, and I've got to make sure I'm in the right direction here so that everybody can see this print of the of those murals that pretty special are in our. I know there may be some other people that want to say a few words tonight. I don't know, but let's see. We'll start open forum early. Is there anyone that would like to address the town board tonight? And I will give special privilege in that regard to former town board member Louise Nobles.
Good evening. I was on the town board from 2005 until 2017, through 2017. When I came in, Chief Volko was the chief, and I thought when he left, nobody could replace him. He was a great guy. But I was wrong. Mark has done an absolutely fantastic job. He became a friend of mine as well as the chief, and you could talk to him about almost anything. He is just a great fellow, and as soon as he took over was the time when our governor at the time had to resign for personal reasons. That was Governor Spitzer. And I remember the first time I talked to Mark, he was walking down the hall, and I was walking towards him. I don't think he knew who I was at the time, and I said, "Can't you guys keep it zipped?" And he just kept saying, what, I didn't do anything. And from then on, we became friends. and I am so proud to be a friend of his and wish him all the best in the world.
We also have Leah Goldstein, who would like to say a few words. Leah has worked with the chief for a number of years.
Yeah, I just wanted to say a special thank you. On a personal level, I actually was a teacher for years, and when we were both rookies, yes. I remember the chief used to come, he wasn't the chief then, but he'd come to talk to the kids about safety and about the police, and was so approachable and kind and thoughtful, but also a presence. The kids looked up to and wanted to be like him when they grew up. So it's been a lot of years. I grew up here, raised my kids here, and really appreciate the safe community and the fact that when we waved to the police officers, they all waved back. So, thank you, Chief.
Did I see, Marge, did you want to?
Well, I could have a few words.
Absolutely.
You mind?
Not at all. You,
Okay. Marge Lamo, 90 Towpath Lane, Rochester, town of Brighton. I met Mark back in the 80s when I get premonitions. A lot of people don't know that, but I do. I get premonitions. I saved 2 girls from jumping off the bridge at Monroe Avenue. They're from Hillside, and it was 11 o'clock at night, and all I could say to 911 is that they're going to jump, get the fire department, get the police department, get this. I couldn't come up with, and they kept saying, what bridge? I don't know. And somebody in the 911 area said, let her talk, let her talk. So I kept talking and yet rattling on, and my husband's saying, who are you talking to? And I'm at 911. They're going to jump, they're going to jump. Well, anyhow, the Brighton police got there in time, and it was right next to Arby's, because I said food, bridge, food, put it together. Oh, I couldn't think of it. It was Arby's, and they were going to jump, and they got there in time. The fire department, I want to thank at 441, and up here on East Elmwood Avenue, who got there with their bucket. I said, fire truck with a bucket, so they get up to the bridge and get them down. And to this day, I can't sleep thinking about that. With some of the premonitions that I get, they're very, very bad, and I don't know what to do with them. But this one night with Mark, I had this terrible, terrible premonition, and I didn't want to call the police because I thought, well, they'll think I'm crazy up here or whatever. So what did I do? I called the FBI. And the FBI, I had written down every license plate number I could think of in the parking lot at the apartment complex that my husband and I owned at the time. And I sent it to the FBI, and they ran them. 3 days later, they knocked on my door, and they said, you got to go over there and empty that entryway. And I said, I don't work there. I can't empty them. I don't have no power to do that. And he says, you got it right now. They had shotguns. They had, oh, my gosh. Well, anyhow, I opened my purse and got out 3 $20 bills because the fourth department, they didn't want me even to tell them. And I went over and I said, you got to leave right now. And to come up with an answer, why? They kept saying, why? How do you do that inside of 30 seconds when you're not educated? I'm dyslexic. I've been my whole life. I'm attention deficit. I've been my whole life. I've gotten through life this way. I said, oh, I told a lie. They're going to fumigate the hallway. You have to all leave now. With that, Mark was then brought into the situation with the scene. And I have a photograph of you coming in. Do you remember that? No. You don't? Oh, God. Well, you got a lot of things worse than that on your plate. But the FBI took him out of the flatbed with the car and so on. But Mark was there that night. And I was told not to come back. It was at 3:30, not to come back to 7:30 because they had to take care of everything and get the tenants out. And I got them out. My right hand went up, and that was a signal for them. And they had them all walking down the sidewalks and with shotguns, making believe they were all apartment dwellers. And that went down. Mark was called. I have a photograph of that, Mark. So, to prove it, all right? So anyhow, that was for Mark Henderson, and he's been there for me for many times. And sometimes not so good, but sometimes, most of the time, very good. And I'll have some questions for him later when it's time for me to come back up to the podium. And I thank you, sir. Congratulations.
Supervisor,
please, Counselor.
Can I do it from here? Or you want me to
bet.
come up? Ah, terrific. Mark, first of all, congratulations on your retirement. I'm quite envious, and I know you'll be fantastic for your new employer and the new community, which is partially our community as well, that you'll be serving. 2 things I wanted to say. Thank you for your friendship on a personal level and on a professional level. And also, thank you for preserving and enhancing the trust that our community feels in our police department, because that starts with you and goes from there. And in this day and age, it's so important, and you've played such an important role. You will be, I think you know, terribly missed. And I know that whoever takes your place will have huge shoes to fill, and hopefully will do a wonderful job. But the trust that you've enhanced in this community for the police department, for safety in this community, is truly special. And actually, I said two things. I'm going to add a third, and that is thank you also for the advice and your perspective. We haven't always seen things exactly the same, but I appreciate that. I need that in my role to be able to see different perspectives. And oftentimes, yours was a perspective I did not see before, and ended up being a much better one for the overall community. So thank you for that as well, and good luck in everything.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Councilmember Warner.
If I might, when I first met Mark, I hadn't realized that he was almost as new on the job as I was. But he'd only been in service for about a year as the chief when I began on the town board. And I realized just how attentive he was to the needs of the town board when I made a comment about clearance rates. And it was very quickly after that I was invited to coffee. And Mark then spread it all out in front of me and gave me a full briefing on things. And I first thought he was trying to impress the new board member. But really, that's the experience I've had with Mark in every instance. One particular instance is when I was promoting gun storage safety issues. You don't have to ask Mark to help. He simply just grabs a hold of an issue and provides you the information that he can. If he feels he can help, he does, and he steps forward. And I've seen it so many times in so many different meetings where it just grabs hold of the issue, provides the particulars, and provides a solution. I have been so proud in so many instances when Mark has served as the voice of our community, from a public safety standpoint and from a community relations standpoint. And I've always wondered two things. First, how is it that he's here in the town of Brighton representing us and not in some national post? And perhaps he'll go further. But the other is, I share Louise's comment here, which is, and you're the only police chief that I've known, because thankfully I have not had much involvement with the police in my 30 years as a resident. But how are we going to do any better? I just can't imagine. So, Mark, thank you so much for all you've done for our town and for me.
Jason?
Mark, I just wanted to say from the bottom of my heart, thank you. When I was first elected back in 2011, you had invited Councilmember Werner and I down to the police department, gave us a tour, and from then on, you've always had an open door policy, always proved yourself to be a great resource. Since we started working together and interacting with the Finance and Administrative Services Committee and also on the Public Safety Committee, you've always had a very calm demeanor. You've always been a good help, and your well-timed sense of humor is always appreciated in those instances. And in addition, with your community outreach, you have this presence with your police uniform on, but once you start speaking, you have this calm way that puts everybody at ease. And you're very approachable, and you can see that with the way that members of the community approach you. Thank you very much for making my job that much more pleasurable in dealing with the residents of the town and serving our constituents. And it's not goodbye, it's good luck. I'm sure our paths are going to continue to cross in the community in the future. But our loss is their gain, and I look forward to working with you in the future.
Appreciate that. Christine?
Well, I think Robin's hand might have been up first. You go right ahead.
Rob?
I want to really thank you, Mark, from the bottom of my heart. You know, we haven't worked together that long. I'm pretty new to the town board. But I think the real measure of leadership is demonstrated in times of adversity. And we've dealt with some very deep and difficult issues during my short tenure on the town board. And you've always brought a perspective and measured response that has been spot on in those cases. And through the difficult times and the less difficult times, you've always brought a perspective that has helped the situation. And I want to thank you for adding that perspective and supporting all members of our community. Wish you best of luck.
Christine?
And I'd like to add I'd like to echo my colleagues' sentiments. As the shortest serving member on this board, I feel like I have gotten the best possible connection with you by having the privilege of chairing the Public Safety Committee. You make that role easy, and I get the privilege of seeing you month after month engaging with your public safety peers in a way that lifts the quality of the conversation and the collaboration amongst all the units. I get to see you engaging with members of the public in the most respectful manner, in a way that reassures them that you truly have the community's best interests at heart, that you do not match some of the stereotypical discourse that goes on these days. Your intellect is enormous. The privilege of hearing you review a terrific book at the Brighton Memorial Library just a couple months ago put a very fine point on how learned you are, in addition to being such an outstanding public safety officer. And at core, your heart is enormous, and it shows. It shines brighter than that badge on your shirt. And we are really, truly blessed to have you as a member of our community, and we are so lucky that your next role includes Brighton in the overall big picture of what you'll do for our community. Thank you for all you've done for us.
Because I do have just one more, some greetings and gratitude to send, but as many of you have heard me say on every chance I get, the Brighton Police Department is the finest law enforcement agency in New York. And that doesn't happen by accident. It happens from excellence at the top. And there is absolutely no doubt in my mind that Police Chief Mark Henderson is the best leader of a law enforcement agency. And while he may not lead in a national agency yet, make no mistake, the name Mark Henderson is known in law enforcement circles far beyond the Rochester area and far beyond the state of New York. I do bring congratulations and best wishes from Rochester Police Chief Laurent Singletary, who I was with just before tonight's meeting. He couldn't be here, but I know at some point over the next little while he will be sending his congratulations and best wishes to you in person. So I'm just going to change one word that Jason said, our loss, and it is a loss, but our loss is our gain, because you will be serving the community. That's who you are. The new role you're in will serve all of us in this community as you have for so many years. Thank you, and we are going to miss you, but we know we're going to see you. The podium is yours.
Thank you. In the last board meeting, I spoke about that I couldn't have done my job had it not been the support of the town board. Louise, you were there from the first time I interviewed, and Supervisor Frankel, and right from day one, the support that the board and the elected officials have shown me and my ability to introduce some programs that you touted as being my programs was actually the Town of Brighton program. So I could not have done that had it not been for the elected officials, and I'm appreciative of that. My first town board meeting ended at 2 o'clock in the morning. There was a development that was proposed for the corner of Monroe and Clover. It garnered a very large community gathering. We had to break for the reporter at every hour and a half, 2-hour interval. Finally, at 12:30,
I had come to my first town board meeting to meet with the board. I was a captain to meet with the board. They were going to make a decision on a succession plan for Tom Vogel. And Tom had counted the number of minutes that he had sat his 19 years as the chief of police. And I said, I better not do that because I'm starting with a very large number the first night. And there had been some other public hearings, again, dealing with projects on Monroe Avenue that had taken us to 1 or 2 in the morning. So I am really going to miss the town board meetings. I truly mean that. I'm going to miss the people in the town of Brighton. It has been my life. I started here in November of 1986. Although I did not live in the community, I spent more time in this community than I did, at the sacrifice to family time, at the sacrifice of my 2 daughters and my wife Lori. It was a legacy for our family. That was our family tradition. My dad was a commander in the state police, a lieutenant, and my grandfather was a city of Canandaigua police officer for a number of years. So policing's in our blood. I tried to make my tenure as the chief one of professionalism. It's something that was modeled after Chief Shaw when I first started in 1986, then again under Chief Vogel, who I actually had an opportunity to see today. Tom was a mentor. Tom was very a global thinker, and I tried to emulate exactly what he showed me. And I know you'll be gathering tonight, and you're going to be making a decision on my successor. Thanks to the tools that the board has given us, we have some very qualified candidates within the department. I know it's going to be a difficult selection for you. I think what you see in me, the next person, the next chief that's going to come in here, he's going to bring the agency to a whole new level. To use a sports analogy, 2 years ago, I had a false start. I thought I was walking away from this job to take, and some of you on the board had to live that, and I apologize for that, but it was the community pushback and comments that I heard that the timing wasn't right, and it caused me to rethink, and I stayed on, and I appreciate the support that the board showed. But this new chapter, it's unfortunate that there has to be a regional director of community security for the Jewish community. When I saw the job posting, I actually worked with the organization, a national organization called Secure Community Network. They did an audit of the Rochester area. I've known that the Jewish community has a large footprint here in the town of Brighton. I never realized the totality of the Jewish community in the Rochester area. There are 16,000 members, 30 locations, and then ultimately I'll have responsibility for Syracuse and Buffalo, in addition to some national responsibilities, part of national training. So I had the opportunity to fly out to Chicago to meet the CEO of the organization. It's a great organization and has community safety in mind. In addition to the Jewish community, I've been assured that I can continue my work with our friends at the Islamic Center, our work with the City Faith community, and I hope to expand upon that. But so it's not, I'm leaving with a heavy heart. The men and women of the Brighton Police Department are phenomenal. They are why we hear the accolades from the community. I started getting letters from, when it became public that I was leaving, from residents I hadn't met. And I received a letter from someone who described herself as her and her husband came to Brighton to retire. Her husband has since passed, and I gave her a sense of security. So that is a letter I will cherish. Bill, I shared with you the letter I got today about the way we handled things and what I mean. It's the time for me to move on to a new chapter. I think when you sit down and interview your candidate tonight for my successor, you'll be equally as impressed as I am of the qualifications that individual brings to the table. I'll be able to watch your town board meetings from home on YouTube, and then if they get too long, I can just turn them off and go to bed. But I thank you for the recognition. I'll stay through the open forum part. I know Marge wants to direct some comments my way, but I'll quietly move along, and then Captain Cathaldi will take my spot at the table. So I want to thank you all for all that you've done for me. I appreciate that. Thanks.
Then open forum it is. Is there anyone that would like to address the board during the open forum portion of the meeting this evening? Before I call on you, I do just want to let everybody here and people who are watching remotely, we start every meeting with the open forum, and we do that to give you, the public, the opportunity to share your thoughts with us. It may relate to something that's on tonight's agenda, but it may not. We believe in open government, and we do our very best to walk the talk. The open forum is a part of that. We give people that opportunity. Now, you don't even have to come to the meeting to participate in our open forum. You can call us. The phone number is 303-3060, 303-3060, with a question or comment, and someone will take your call and relay it up here. As we pointed out earlier, we want to make sure we are as inclusive as we can be to the deaf and hard of hearing community. Just as we have an ASL interpreter, you can use, if you're a member of the deaf, hard of hearing community, you can use your video phone and call that same number, 303-3060, to take your question or your comment. So with that, I will recognize Marja Lamo.
Good evening. When I spoke earlier, I didn't tell you what happened, and I'll tell you now, I can. Statute of limitations says I can. The gentleman that was in the apartment complex was making bombs like Sandy Hook. And I had the intuition, the ability, knowledge, whatever, to act on it, and I'm glad I did. So that's taken care of. Okay, today's 911. All day today, I've been at 2 doctor's offices and 1 tomorrow. They've asked me, what were you doing in 911? It's so easy for me to say. I had my finger on the door to go out with my keys in my hand, and at a split second, my phone rang. It was my son from Florida saying, Mom, Doug is in Washington. He ain't going to make it to Syracuse to the airport. And I was on my way to go pick him up. They grounded his plane. Oh, my God. They got 30 people on the tarp running off. They don't know where to go. The payphones, they didn't have cell phones back then. And the payphones, if you didn't have the money to put in it, you couldn't use the payphone. But he did get one phone call out real quick to my son, Bill. And fortunately, Bill called me, and he had a 3-way thing going on the phone. And I said, Bill, tell him to get everybody down. He knows where that green false facade is on the fence that's at the White House that takes you down to the 1-mile elevator. It's underground. A lot of people just don't know about it. And when you get down there, it's called Crystal City. Get down there and run to Virginia, underground. Take them all with you. He did. Everybody from the plane followed him. And my son then called my daughter, who's in the Navy. She's been there 35 years, devoted her life to the Navy, as her husband has. And she hijacked a Navy truck with the canvas on the top and said, get to Quantico. Underneath the ground, you can run to Quantico. The president uses it with golf carts to get to Camp David. And I can't say no more than what I'm saying. And so they all got to Quantico, and my daughter, Deborah, why I'm bringing this up is a Brighton graduate. She learned a lot at Brighton, and that's why I'm bringing it up, because of Brighton. And her education gave her the ability to think that quick. She went out and hijacked that truck against Navy rules and drove to Quantico and picked everybody up. She got them back to Virginia. And they said, we got a problem in the Navy, okay? They had all the people in Florida, they had to get up to Washington, but they couldn't get cars, all the rental cars were gone, and they couldn't get cars and buses or anything to get to Washington, D.C., because it was called by the president for everybody to get there. And quick thinking, my daughter, Deborah, said, give my brother a car, a Navy-based car. And he went to
Hey,
Florida
Marge.
with a police escort.
I told you I was going to stay. I wanted to listen to what you had. I don't have a long time to stay. Can you tell me what it was you wanted to
Oh,
address to
okay.
me?
Well, my son Doug got down there, and they took the car, met him at the airport. He got his car. They took the Navy car and went back. So because of a bright, educated person, that's what happened on 911 for me and my children. Mark,
Yes.
I would like it if the police could just pay a little more attention to towpath. As I pulled out to come here tonight, the kids were vandalizing the apartment complex that we used to own. I told them, get on your scooters and get back to your houses. You have no helmets on. You don't belong out on the road. You don't belong up here. They're waving at traffic and hollering, stop. And I'm saying, what are you doing?
So, Marge, I've got 2 weeks. How about I come over, make a call? I'll come over and visit you, and then once you declare a successor
I
for
have a
chief, we'll
photograph
come
of all
over.
the children. I know who they are.
We talked about that in the hall, and I'll be happy to
Okay.
come over to your home so we can follow up.
And the dogs run loose without a,
Yep, we'll talk to animal
everything.
control about
uh,
that.
if
and-
you're on duty, you know.
Thank you, thank you,
But you're off
Chief.
duty tonight.
Yeah, Marge, I mentioned in the hall that we'd spend some quality time together before I leave so we could discuss the issues, and
Okay.
Thank
We
you very
have
much.
somebody that's dropping their brush off from Pittsford on our street, and the town of Brighton is picking it up. That's got to be stopped. I don't know why we can't put a fine on that person who's accepting them to let their tree brush trimmings and everything be piled up as high as their mailbox and as wide as 6 feet wide. I did call the town, and I talked to I think, Chad Ross, and he said he would take care of it in a proper manner, but this has got to stop. And I don't know why they put it in the sewer, which the Brighton paper, the pamphlet you put out says don't put it in the sewer, but they line the sewer and they say, well, we pay our taxes, why can't we? We're going to do it. I obey the rules and the laws as best I can, okay? And for them to come in with a red pickup truck and drop off his brush, and I drove up and I said, what are you doing? And he says, none of your business. I said, I'm 37 years neighborhood association on this street, and I resent the fact that you are dropping your brush off. I followed you up here. You're not in Brighton. So why are you dropping it off here, okay? That's got to stop, okay? Mark and I will take up that. As far as the broadcast of the town meeting, okay, when I turn it on, sometimes we'll get the week before, the meeting before, instead of the week as of like tonight. It'll be broadcasting the wrong meeting. So we don't get to hear what's going on until the following meeting on the broadcast. That's been going on for about 5 months now. Somebody's got to call them and straighten them out. So we got that taken care of, and we got the car wash. Mark had to leave, and that was a police question. At the car wash in Monroe and Clover, 2 yellow solid lines coming down Clover Street. And yet the cars come out of the park, out of the car wash, okay? And they try to get in to the 2 lanes that are going down Clover Street. And they come out, and they get their front end right in the left-hand turn lane, but they don't want that lane. They don't want the inside lane. They want to get over there in front of Bugle Bagels to go down Monroe Avenue. So this has happened to me in 1 month about 3 times. They come out and they cross the double yellow lines, okay? Now, what the problem is that when they get their car out there, I gotta watch my word, get their car out there and they get the front end into the left lane that goes left, here comes the left turn from Monroe Avenue going up Clover Street. Their back end of the car is in the lane, and it stops that traffic. And here comes the right on red from Monroe going up to Clover Street. It's on the inside lane, and they can't get by. And then the people get a little bit bent out of shape. They get bent out of shape, and the horns start honking. And this, I don't know what to do. I was taught you couldn't cross a double yellow line. What is the thing on that? How do you handle
Marge,
that?
when you're driving down a lane, you can't pass
You just
someone
can't
on a
pass it,
on
but
a
you can
double
cross
yellow
it?
line. But you can make a left turn across a double yellow line. If otherwise it would preclude left turns at all from that
Well,
location.
I understand it, but
Yes, left turns.
go 2 lanes over and get to the 3rd lane, which is right, or the one that goes straight. 2 go left, 1 goes straight. And they try to get over there to get into that little alcove there. I don't know what to do. I mean, people are honking their horn. He sat there, and one guy was I thought he was going to hit him.
Thank
Never mind.
you for sharing
Okay,
that concern,
but
Marge. I
that's about
appreciate it.
Thank you
And-
for your time, allowing me to speak.
And thank you for coming and congratulating the chief on a great career. We appreciate that as well. Louise?
Hello, Louise Novros, 116 Seminole Way. I would like to know what's happening with the park on Elmwood and Seminole. When I talked to you, Supervisor, about a year ago, I said Roselawn was having their centennial, probably in November, and you said, oh, we'll have it up and running, it'll be beautiful by then. And you cleared everything away, and there's only grass and a couple of boulders. What's going on?
We worked with the neighborhood, developed a design. As you know, we budgeted funds for that project. The hardscape has been put in to the park, and there will be flowers that will be planted. And I don't have an exact timeline for that. Mike, I don't know whether you...
Yeah, I've spoke with Gary. He's in the process of purchasing them. We have to go out to bid, and then we have to go through the process of getting multiple quotes. Once we get the quotes, we'll purchase the plants and we'll plant the plants. We
Right.
didn't want to plant them in the dead of summer.
Right.
What, is it going to be, a whole garden like it was before, or is it just going to be some flowers here and there?
There'll be plantings in there. It won't be as elaborate as it was before, but there'll be some plantings off to the, I guess, the rear side, the north side of it, and and so there'll be mostly perennials and some small shrubs. So there is a plan set up. If you would like, Louise, I can share it with you at some point. We met with the beautification committee. They had some suggestions on the perennials, and some lilies and some things like that. So it's what we're trying to do is find something that was very, I guess, similar somewhat, but also low maintenance.
Lower maintenance was really important, particularly, as you know, we have a policy against using pesticides, herbicides, and roses are particularly hard. We listen to the neighborhood. And one of the other things that I think, has already been completed and I think is a real improvement is that you can now walk through that path to the town hall campus, which was a long time, a legitimate concern that you really couldn't get to the town hall campus up along that trail. So we've taken out a garden that everybody agreed was past its time, and I think when we have it finished, it will be something new. It's not going to be elaborate. It's not going to be like the Eastman Museum, but we will have perennials. When we set about the project, the primary goal was to be a sustainable, lower maintenance garden.
If the beautification part of Roselawn wants to add some things to it at our expense, can they do that? Because, you could have the garden the size that we had before for a couple $100.
We'd be happy to talk to the Roselawn neighborhood. I know Mike has talked to the Roselawn neighborhood, has been involved in the design. The beautification, and
Yeah.
I'll let Robin as the
Yeah, I do want to
beautification
emphasize that,
liaison.
that there has been a considerable amount of stakeholder input, in particular with the planting schedule that was vetted by members of the neighborhood association in addition to the beautification committee. And I know that Gary has been working with them, Mike has been working with stakeholders within the community in order to make sure that what we put there has been vetted by all the stakeholders.
Okay, because all I'm hearing from people is, what the heck's going on? We have 2 boulders there and grass.
Yeah, we actually met at one of the homes over there in the neighborhood early on.
Yep.
It's just, you know, it took a while to get the hardscape done, Louise, and then but when we got the hardscape done, it was late in the year, and we didn't want to plant it and have it burn out in the summer sun, that's all.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to address the board during tonight's open forum? Hearing none, can I have a motion to approve the agenda? I do want to make one very minor, well, two corrections, actually. One is you'll see the approval and filing town board meeting minutes. That second number should be August 28th, not 18th. And you have in front of you an item of communication from Robin Samper. It really is appropriate to Mark's presence here, but Captain Cathaldi here as well, who is in her letter, she expresses her gratitude to the Brighton Police and our crossing guards for the work they do in the 12 corners, keeping our kids safe. So with the addition of that item of communication and the change, can I have a motion to approve the agenda for tonight?
So moved.
Second.
Boy, everybody's two close calls there.
Easy one.
Any discussion? Hearing none, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember DeFonzio? Aye. Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado?
Aye.
Supervisor Maley?
Aye. Now can I have a motion to approve and file the meeting minutes of the town board for August 14 and August 28, 2019 town board meetings?
So moved.
Second.
Can I have a second? Discussion? Hearing none, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember DeFonzio? Aye. Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado?
Aye.
Supervisor Maley?
Aye. Tonight, we do have 5 public hearings scheduled. Each one of them relates to the formation of a refuse district. Before we get to the actual public hearings, I just want to talk a little bit about refuse districts, because I know sometimes it's something, particularly new folks that come to Brighton. A refuse district is a vehicle through which the town can really buy in bulk, buy services in bulk, refuse pickup services to serve a neighborhood or a part of a neighborhood. And by buying in bulk, we have been able to keep the costs down, keep a neighborhood served on one day, and provide a single source for people calling with concerns and complaints. And as a result, most of our neighborhoods in Brighton use refuse districts to save money and to limit the number of trucks that go down the street every week. So we, tonight, are considering 5 neighborhoods or groups of properties that are requesting the establishment of a refuse district, and state law provides a procedure under which a public hearing is held and a number of matters can be determined, including specifically whether the formation of the refuse district is in fact in the public interest. So we will hold those 5 public hearings now, and I will start with the proposed creation of the Trailwood Circle Refuse District, and I'll ask the town clerk, has the necessary legal notice been given for this public hearing?
Yes, Supervisor, notice was published in the August 29th edition of the Brighton-Pittsford Post, as well as the message board and town website.
Thank you. Notice having been given, I declare this public hearing on the formation of the Trailwood Circle Refuse District to be open. We have, as we do for each of these, a petition and a plan, a map for this district. This is a very small district that's being proposed. It's a street that begins in Pittsford, actually, comes off French Road and then comes into the town of Brighton. So there are actually 6 properties that are being considered. While it meets the 51% requirement of the state law, 3 of those 6 properties have signed the petition. We will ask if there's anyone here that would like to address the board on this matter. Hearing none, Ken, do you want to say something for the
I think it
record?
might be helpful, Mike, I don't know if you have any information on the district relative to efforts that were made by the proponents of the district to get signatures on the petition and what that resulted in.
I wasn't involved in getting the petition signed.
Right.
Generally, we have what we would call a neighborhood champion that goes throughout the neighborhood and approaches everybody in the neighborhood to obtain signatures on the petitions for the district. In this instance, we had 3 of the 6 parcels sign that petition. I can't speak to how many parcels the person spoke to or not.
And if you can speak to this, and maybe this is a hard question to answer, but what has the experience been where you have a divided neighborhood and are trying to impose a special district like a garbage district in there? Has there been dissension that creates within the neighborhood,
There certainly
hard
can be.
feelings?
Yeah, there certainly can be. We generally tell the residents when they're come to us to form a district that we'd like to see upwards of 70% participation in the district. Because there are always the possibilities, if you have a 51-49, that there does become disputes within the neighborhood. We try to avoid that at all costs.
And you look for that higher percentage, not because it's legally required, but because to meet public interest, which is one of the things that the board needs to find, that it would serve the public interest in forming this district. You certainly don't want to create a situation which is uncomfortable for neighbors, which creates dissension in the neighborhood, which is ripe for hard feelings and creates a situation which is not the communal type of situation that we strive for in the town of Brighton. And so I think that's why really the department urges those proponents, those champions, as you call them, to get a supermajority of their neighbors to sign on. And in the Trailwood situation, they were not able to do that.
That's correct. And that does go to the question of whether formation of that district would in fact serve the public interest, or would it simply serve to cause dissension or other problems in the neighborhoods. We don't know. Now, I will say that if the board does not act tonight, that does not mean that this matter is dead for all times. This is really, for this coming year, it is important for the development of the real property tax rolls and the budget to have, for the 2020 season, for the 2020 budget year, if we're going to be able to get these districts on track for 2020, we do need to take action now, but it does not mean that the neighborhood can't come back and get support from a larger number of homeowners at some future time and return and show us that they have 5 or 6 of these 6 property owners and show that kind of overwhelming support. But at present, we do not have that overwhelming support that would make it clear that, to me at least, that this is in the public interest. But it simply affords some future opportunity.
And Mike, I did just want to clarify one other thing. I seem to recall that when we got the petitions in initially, there were quite a few of these requests that had 50% participation. And as I recall, the champions were given an opportunity to try to garner additional signatures
Well, absolutely,
at that time.
Robin. Yeah, generally, if they come in, we'll tell them, look, we would like to see more signatures and try to send them back out to garner more signatures. So,
Thank
yeah,
you.
Thanks.
Mike, do we know, because this is a street that crosses town lines, do we know if the Pittsford residents have already formed a refuse district on their side of the town line?
Do not know that. I can't speak to that.
Any other comments from the board or from the audience?
To Christine's point, if the residents on the other side, if there's no district, because half the street is in Pittsford, then that doesn't really solve the issue of trucks coming down the street every day if there are different carriers for the other side of the street. It's just a short cul-de-sac, it looks like.
That's correct. I mean, it would limit the trucks in the Brighton section of the road.
Which isn't to say that if all 6 of the Brighton residents within this district really wanted this district, that you couldn't authorize it and find it in the public interest. But I see what you're saying, Jason, is you're saying that because there would not be a district on the entire street, it also does not serve the public interest of reducing traffic and noise and disruption to the neighborhood by having multiple garbage pickups on the street.
Yeah, it's a very good point. Any further comment? Hearing none, I do declare this public hearing to be closed. You have a resolution in front of you, and it is a resolution that contemplates approval of the district. But as always, you have the right to vote either yes or no.
Are we in a position to table the matter and turn it back to the champion?
I think voting, at this point, voting no would have the same effect as tabling it. If we tabled it, we could not, I don't believe, because we have to have formation this month, we would have to.
Right, if I could speak to that point.
Renotice.
So I think the timing, and the clerk or the finance director or somebody may be able to correct me if I get this wrong, but I believe that if this matter was tabled, it would still need to be acted upon at our next meeting at the very latest in order for our officials to get the preliminary tax rolls out to the county on time. So if you were to table this matter, it would arguably give the residents 2 more weeks to garner more petitions. But as I understand it, they've already been given that opportunity.
Yes.
So they've already
been told
all the neighbors there what the
Dash,
options are, and they've
you should go out and
voiced
get
their
some more.
opinions.
Could we vote to deny the application without prejudice? That way, all of the work that's been done so far can be maintained, and then say next year, another couple of signatures come down the
Right,
pipe?
denying it, you would not need to say without prejudice. Denying or turning down the resolution would simply turn down the resolution, and it would be without prejudice to them bringing this back next year, of
They can
course.
use the same petitions and the same signatures that they
Yes.
used on this one? Okay.
Yes, there is no bar to them bringing this back at a future date.
unless owners change.
Fair enough, unless the owners or something changes in terms of the assessed values, I suppose.
I just say that as someone who's been working on a district in his neighborhood for close to 5 years.
Yeah, no, that is a good point, because if one of the people who has currently signed it were to transfer the property, their signature would not be able to be considered.
Right, we would, if this matter came before the town board again next year, let's say, we would ask the assessor, you'll see in your packet, there's a letter from the assessor, to recertify that the petitions do in fact represent 50% or more of the assessed value of the residential properties in the neighborhood.
Any further? Have I closed the public hearing?
You have.
Yes.
I thought so, okay, all right. Then I'll ask for a motion, whether it's a motion to approve or a motion to table.
If I could make this recommendation, there is a resolution in front of you that seeks approval.
Yep.
If it is the board's intention to not approve, I think, even though this doesn't make a whole lot of sense perhaps to some, that the cleaner record would be for somebody to move the adoption of the resolution as proposed, second the adoption of the resolution as proposed, and then have a no vote,
Correct.
as no, the district should not be formed.
That's correct. There is no prohibition, of course, on someone who makes the motion, is not required to vote in favor of it. So that motion would be appropriate, as would a motion to table if that were to be the pleasure of the board. So would someone like to make a motion?
On the matter regarding the creation of the Trailwood Circle Refuse District, I move that we adopt the resolution as prepared by the attorney to the town.
Second.
Is there any further discussion? Then I'll ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Councilmember DePonzio. No. Councilmember Werner.
No.
Councilmember Wilt.
No.
Councilmember Corrado.
No.
Supervisor Manley.
No, and again, I would say that we will, if the neighborhood wishes to keep this matter and submit additional signatures, we welcome the opportunity at a future time to consider that. I'll now move then to the proposed Stony Brook Drive Refuse District. Dan, has the necessary legal notice been filed in this matter?
Yes, Supervisor. The August 29th edition of the Brighton Pittsburgh Post, as well as our website and the clerk's message board.
Thank you. Then I declare the public hearing on the proposed creation of the Stony Brook Drive Refuse District to be open. You have in front of you a petition. In this case, you have 14 of 17 properties that signed, and that represents, I'm looking at it sideways here, but that represents over 86% of the assessed valuation of property in the district. So a very different scenario from the last one. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to address the board concerning the proposed Stony Brook Drive Refuse District? Is there anyone on the board that would like to address this matter during the public hearing?
I would like to note only that I was present at the beginning of the discussion about the formation of the district during the Stony Brook Neighborhood Association picnic, at which Mike Guyon very sagely guided the residents through the process, answered their questions at length and in detail, and set them on the right course to get approval from the community. So thanks to Mike, this looks to be a successful application.
Any other comments that you want to make on the record of the public hearing?
I would only want to note, well, I'll ask because I'm having trouble pulling it up on my computer. The map of this proposed district encompasses, I believe, all of the properties on Stony Brook. Is that correct?
Mike, is that is?
I'm having trouble finding it. So to Jason's earlier point, this would in fact also have the additional public benefit of restricting traffic from garbage trucks to one route or one trip per week.
And also with this being a cul-de-sac, it's that much more beneficial.
Okay. Any other comments from anybody for the record of this public hearing? Hearing none, I declare the public hearing on the proposed creation of the Stony Brook Drive Refuse District to be closed and would ask for a motion to,
Bill, with respect to the creation of the Stony Brook Drive Refuse District, I move that we adopt the resolution before us.
Second.
discussion. Hearing none, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember DePonzio. Aye. Councilmember Werner.
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt.
Aye.
Councilmember Carrano.
Aye.
Supervisor Maley.
Aye. Now we'll move to the public hearing on the proposed creation of the Barclay Square Refuse District. And I'll ask the clerk again, has the necessary legal notice been given in this matter?
It has, Supervisor. This also was in the August 29th edition of the Brightson Pittsford Post, as well as the web and message board.
Then I declare this public hearing to be open. I, like you, am also struggling a little bit with the getting the materials to stay open here on my computer. But the Barclay Square District, again, is one. Here we go. We had over 70% of the properties and over 70% of the assessed valuation supporting this proposed district. Is there anyone that would like to address the board? Is there anyone on the board that would like to comment on this one? Hearing none, I declare this public hearing to be closed and would ask for a vote on the, or ask for a motion to act on the motion to create the district.
On the matter of the creation of a Barclay Square Refuse District, I move that we adopt the resolution before us.
I'll get Jason on that one. Any discussion? Hearing none, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember DePonzio. Aye. Councilmember Werner.
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt.
Aye.
Councilmember Carrano.
Aye.
Supervisor Maley.
Aye. Next, I will move to the proposed creation of the Torrington Drive Refuse District. Dan, has the necessary legal notice been given on this matter?
Yes, Supervisor. This as well was in the August 29th edition of the Brighton Pittsford Post, along with our website and the clerk's message board.
Thank you. Then I declare this public hearing to be open, and I would note that, again, we have a matter on which, although more than 51% of the owners of assessed value in the district signed petitions, it was, again, not overwhelming. We have, I believe, again, I'm struggling with such a big file, and my computer is acting up a little, but I believe, if I recall, it's about 57% of the 56% of the assessed valuation, a little bit higher percentage if you look at the numbers of properties, but still quite a few of the homes in the proposed district did not sign the petition, and well over 40% of the valuation did not sign. Again, Mike, Robin alluded to, and it's a very good point, the advocates for this district were advised that they did not have an overwhelming percentage, and
Generally, like I said, Bill, when we talk with the folks, the champions, whoever's going on, we ask them, to try to secure 70% of the residents.
Yeah.
So they're aware that that is what we're shooting for. And again, it is to try to eliminate any type of problems within the neighborhoods.
So they did provide us with more than 50% as required by law to set the hearing. We've followed that. But again, it raises the same questions that have already been discussed relating to whether formation is in the public interest, particularly the concern that it might cause issues among neighbors on the street.
So I know that Torrington has a mix of owner residents and rental residents. Is that blend perhaps part of the reason for the lower interest?
I'm not sure. Mike, maybe you know, one of the things I would say is the requirement for a district is twofold. It has to be not only 50% of the assessed valuation of all properties, but if there are resident owners on the street, and there are, you also have to have 50% of the resident owners in order to hold the public hearing. So in that sense, it's relevant, but I'm not sure we know, in the case of all of these properties, whether they are
You're right, Bill, you're right. We're not sure whether they're rental properties or owners, or individually owned properties. We provide them with a list to reach out to the owners. Whether they have or had not, I can't speak to that, Christine.
that certainly can make it more difficult
Right.
if the owner is.
Right, if the owners have a contract
Yeah.
for numerous rental properties, they may not be as
Right.
amenable to,
Right.
Yep. No, it's a good point, and
which is a shame because this is a street that would benefit from a little less traffic.
Yes, it would. Yes, it would.
Is there, well, I guess this puts us in the same situation in terms of timing and giving the residents and the property owners the opportunity to reconsider.
It does. We certainly could. We are very much aware of the traffic issues on Torrington. If the board would like to consider tabling this for one more meeting, we can reach out to the folks on Torrington and let them know that they do have one opportunity. I know we're going to have some communication ongoing with them about traffic issues. Maybe we can, I don't know, it's up to the board.
I will note for the board that all of the petitions that were submitted to the board were signed in May of this year. So the proponents of this district have had the better part of 5 months to get additional signatures into the town, and it has not happened. I don't see it happening in 2 weeks.
Yep. That's a good point.
That's a fair point.
And if the holdouts are landlords rather than resident owners, where does that put us as a town if we approve this district? Is there any difficulty that we unintentionally create there?
None that I can think of, again, other than, I suppose it's possible that landlords who own this property have made other arrangements for the disposal of refuse. And while for your typical resident owner, these refuse districts save in the ballpark of $100, maybe a little more, we may not be saving those non-resident owners
Right.
because they may have made other arrangements
This
with
may
respect.
represent an increase for them, or,
Yeah, but we don't know. I'm purely speculating.
right,
We don't
as
have
am
anybody.
I with my question.
We don't have
but-
anybody here in person to stand up for it or to argue against it.
Is it a matter that the district can be redrawn at all?
That would definitely require setting a new public hearing.
Correct, I understand that.
And
Would that be
we
the
would
better
not
approach?
be able to do it this year unless these properties really are a cohesive. I don't think it would be appropriate to cherry pick.
But generally, the comptroller likes to see a congruent district. They don't like to see the one with, they call them, they look like teeth, right? You keep taking out parcels. I mean, I've been part of that too. The comptroller does not like to see that.
Right.
Just to the extent that there's an apartment complex or some such there that defeats it for the
We don't
benefit of the
have
other
that.
residents.
No,
Because
these
I
are-
keep
these
looking
are
for
all-
the map
There it
here.
is. So
You just got to keep going
Yeah, no.
down.
Okay,
they're not contiguous properties that are,
but not owner occupied.
right, potentially.
And again, yeah, it's just,
Okay. Have no further comments? Do we want to?
Yeah, well, I would just
We
like
can
to
make a motion.
emphasize that, again, this is not the final word. If we vote no tonight,
Sure.
that just simply provides them with additional time if they would still like to pursue this, to do that.
with, again, with the absolutely accurate caveat that if someone who has signed moves, they will lose that signature. It is, very much, for most residential customers, these districts are a great thing. They save resident homeowners over $100 a year. But
And to
for
answer
different reasons, sometimes people don't want them.
To answer Chris's question a little bit more specifically, just quickly looking at the properties that we have signatures from, they range from the Elmwood Avenue end to the Monroe Avenue end of this street, and they are on both the odd and even side. And there is no real pattern to where those signatures are from. So you couldn't say, even if you wanted a well-formed district at the Elmwood Avenue end, or
Right,
a
you
well-formed
could-
district at the Monroe Avenue,
Or the odds or the evens, it just
or
doesn't
one
work.
side of the street or the other, that it just, none of that would work.
And of course, a toothy district would also leave the problem of other refuse haulers that you wouldn't have solved the truck issue. We're not solving the truck issue by not acting on it, but, so. All right.
One
Any
last-
further? Yes,
One
Christine.
last question. Are the neighboring streets, Continental and Hampshire Drive, are those currently refuse districts?
I don't know off the top of my head, Christine.
Continental definitely
Continental
is.
is. I do know that.
And would that give the Torrington Drive residents who are in favor of a trash district the opportunity to join Continental as another option, should we deny this tonight?
They would be,
Same
they're going to be a
drawing
standalone
problem.
district, so they would not be an extension to an existing district.
So a district cannot be amended to include,
Yeah, sure, it can be,
Can be.
but, so we could look at that, but for right, the way it's set up tonight, they would be a standalone district.
right.
We couldn't make that amendment in time for it to be effective in 2020.
True.
We might, it might be an option to look at least for some of them. Although we have the same problem, it would be a problem for the, those individual scattered properties, particularly on the other side of the street.
Still would not be a well-formed district,
Yes.
so, all right.
Yeah.
So but there are some options for them to explore
Yeah.
if we deny this tonight.
Yeah.
And I think it's also important to note, as we did with the Trailwood District, that it might create neighborhood dissension. I mean, if we're talking assessed values, if we look at the raw number of houses, there's 23 units, if you will, in this district, and 13 of those units signed, 10 did not. So, and like I said, they're sporadic, they're scattered throughout the neighborhood, so a real opportunity to create ill will between next door neighbors if you do adopt this with that lack of support.
Anything further? Hearing none, I declare this public hearing to be closed, and I will entertain a motion.
Bill, with respect to the creation of the Torrington Drive Refuse District, I move we adopt the resolution before us.
Can I have a second?
Second.
Further discussion? Christine, I think we're giving credit on that one.
No.
Is the second? Oh, Robin? Robin won? All right. Okay. No further discussion. Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember DeFazio.
No, I'm sorry.
Are you sure?
It's okay.
I vote no.
Councilmember Werner.
No.
Councilmember Wilt.
No.
Councilmember Corrado.
No.
Supervisor Malley.
No. We'll move on to the final, which is an extension. It is the proposed extension number 5 to the existing Houston Barnard Refuse District. Dan, has the necessary legal notice been given?
Yes, Supervisor, notice was published in the August 29th edition of the Brighton-Pittsford Post, town's website, as well as the clerk's message board.
Thank you. I declare this public hearing to be open. And this is an extension, and it is 100% of the properties in the proposed extension have signed a petition. And it is contiguous to the existing properties in the district. Is that correct, Mike?
That's correct. That's my understanding.
Then, as I said, I declare the public hearing open. Is there anyone that would like to address the board concerning the proposed extension number 5? Anyone on the board?
Yeah, in this case, there was a transfer of ownership, and the previous owner had not wanted to join the refuse district, but the new owner did, and so this is the
Bingo.
addition of that owner, so.
Right, this just adds one unit, one.
That's
one
correct.
house.
That's correct.
The corner of Esplanade and Clover, then? The rest of the block of it? I can't really tell from the map what the cross street is. I'm guessing Clover?
I got to look at it, Jason. I believe so.
I believe that's correct.
Yes, it's Clover.
Yeah. Now, if there's no comment, then I declare
Oh, wait, no.
the,
Oh, wait. No, wait, is it Clover or is it?
Yeah, it's right at the
It
corner.
is. Well, no, I'm just wondering if that Esplanade Clover, there's the house for sale on one corner. This isn't that property, is it?
don't know.
It is,
I mean, I
it
guess it
is
doesn't
currently
matter.
listed for sale.
I mean,
that your
it's
question?
currently the owner, so I guess
Yes, currently the owner.
it is.
They are the owner.
Yeah, it is Clover.
All right, I declare the public hearing to be closed. Further comment? Hearing none, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember DeFazio? Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado?
Aye.
Supervisor Malley?
Aye. Who do we have? I'm sorry, the motion was made.
Yeah, the
Did we, you know what? I'm not
Skip
sure
the
we do.
motion.
I'm not, yeah. I was going to say, I don't have my notes here.
Let's do
All
that
right,
again.
let's do that again. Can I have a motion, please, to act on the resolution?
Yes, with respect to the creation of extension number 5 to the Houston Barnard Refuse District, I move we adopt the resolution as prepared by the attorney to the town.
Second.
Now we have a motion and a second. Further comment? God, I hope not. Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember DeFazio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado?
Aye.
Supervisor Malley?
Aye. Thank you, everybody, for that, for everybody's patience. We'll move on to communications. Can I have a motion to receive and file communications, including the communication from Robin Samper that we previously added tonight?
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second. I would note, we have communication from a resident on Village Lane who extended her thanks to our highway crews for repaving Village Lane. It was a challenging project in some respects, and we had a lot of conversations with the residents on the street. But we appreciate the kind words, and we also appreciate the kind words from Robin Samper that I mentioned before, complimenting the police department and the highway department. With respect to Village Lane, and also with respect to a couple of other paving projects in town, I would note that for the first time, we were able to enter an arrangement with the city of Rochester. Each of Village Lane and Kimberly and
I'm trying to think, Bill.
one other street,
Oh, the, Southern.
Southern,
Right.
are contained both in the city of Rochester and in the town of Brighton. We were able to reach an understanding with the city of Rochester. We did the paving, whether it was chip sealing or actual repaving, not only in the town of Brighton, but also on the very short city portion, just south of Highland in each case. And the city paid us to do that work, so it was a win-win.
It's a
You
good
might-
situation. It's
it
good
was-
arrangement.
It took some work to make that happen, but I appreciate you doing that. We have a motion to receive and file those, correct?
Yes.
Okay, didn't want to make the same mistake twice. Any further comment? Hearing none, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember DePonzio, Councilmember Werner,
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt,
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado,
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy.
Aye. Committee reports, Community Services, Robin.
Thanks, Bill. The Community Services Committee has not met in the intervening time frame since the last board meeting. I do want to note a couple of recycling event dates that we have upcoming. On Saturday, October 12th, we will have the semi-annual electronics recycling and document shredding event. That will be at the Brighton Highway Department, 1941 Elmwood Avenue, on Saturday, October 12th, from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. And then also, we will have the semi-annual DEA pharmaceutical take-back event on Saturday, October 26th, from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., and that will be at the safety wing of the Brighton Town Hall, 2300 Elmwood Avenue. The next meeting of the Community Services Committee will be next Wednesday, September 18th, 2019, at 9:30 a.m. at the Brookside School, 220 Idlewood Road. As always, we encourage members of the public to attend.
Thanks, Robin. Jason, Finance.
Yes, the Finance and Administrative Services Committee met last Tuesday, September 3rd. Each of the items that we discussed in committee appear on tonight's agenda. And we also did have discussion regarding the 2020 budget requests and the process and schedule of the upcoming 2020 budget hearings. Our next meeting will take place on Tuesday, September 17th. We'll meet at 3:30 in the afternoon in the Stage Conference Room here at Town Hall, and the public is invited to attend.
Thanks, Jason. Public safety.
Public safety,
Christine.
yes. Public safety met yesterday morning, 8 a.m. downstairs. In open forum, several residents from Dale Road addressed the committee about the currently posted no parking signage, and concerns about traffic on that street, and some other neighborhood safety issues. Chief Henderson had previously, on this same issue, extended an offer to engage the Center for Dispute Settlement to assist the residents with resolving some of the disagreements. The residents had previously declined that option. However, now all parties do agree to move forward with working out the dispute through the agency, and Chief Henderson has moved forward to facilitate the execution of a memorandum of understanding with the agency. We sincerely hope that that service will assist in mitigating differences amongst neighbors in an otherwise lovely neighborhood. Reports from our public safety agencies. Brighton Ambulance had 584 calls for service last month. Volume is up over 6% from this time last year. They supported the Brighton Fire Department on a working fire on Hibiscus Drive last month. They are grateful for the assistance of the town for moving up the replacement of the vehicle number 3079 due to mechanical failures. We have found resources to facilitate that speedy replacement. And BVA will be including a free tourniquet with Stop the Bleed training in this coming year, as they were able to purchase 100 tourniquets specifically for community issuance, and they will be advertising that in social media through the fourth quarter of 2019. Brighton Fire Department has responded to approximately 1,500 calls year to date. And the only call of significance recently was, again, that minor structure fire on Hibiscus Drive. Public Works noted that Havens Road reconstruction continues and detour signage is posted. Brighton Police note that the 2 recently recruited officers will start field training within the next month. City of Rochester Fire Department, which serves West Brighton, noted that there were 491 calls year to date in West Brighton and 92 calls in the month of August. And Town Council sought an update on East Avenue paving, striping, and completion, and it looks like that project with the road diet on East Avenue will be completed by October. So for safer bicycling and walking and driving along that stretch, road diets do work. Related to safer walking and biking and driving, we're continuing the audit of school speed zones throughout the town. The Highway Department, Commissioner Guyon and I will be reviewing the schedule of streets that have schools on them throughout town and strategizing on a plan to achieve consistency in signage, speed limits, and distances for posting of those speed limits approaching school speed zones, and also aligning town law with current state code, which is actually more all-encompassing of the areas surrounding schools. So we will present more on that in future. There was a concern on Pelham Road about obstructed view by planter boxes. That'll be handled offline as the resident was not present to provide more detailed information on the concern. Traffic concerns on Hillside Avenue have been addressed. The police department presented vehicle speed and volume data along Hillside Avenue. It turns out that a very low percentage of non-compliance was recorded on the speed limit, although there were some extreme outliers, well over 45 miles an hour, up to, forgive me, Chief Henderson isn't here, but I don't know if you recall.
The range was, I think, 45 to 60.
Yeah.
But I've got the details of which I can report on.
Yes, you
So
will.
if you'd like
Yes,
them
no,
to-
you go right ahead. You've got them all right there. So concerning that there are such outliers, but the vast majority of the travel in that area does comply with the speed limit. However, with the ongoing community concerns about speeding in many parts of town, and particularly in residential areas, town staff will be drafting a protocol for deployment of various tools for data gathering and process for follow-up and options for mitigation on review of results. So systematizing that. The next meeting of the Public Safety Committee will be Tuesday, October 8th at 8 a.m. in the lower conference room here in Brighton Town Hall. The public is always encouraged to attend.
Thanks, Christine. Chris, Public Works.
Public Works met just yesterday on September 10th. The items that were discussed, first, 2 residents appeared who they resided on Elwell Drive and Roby Drive, expressing concerns about the unavailability of green light high-speed network in there for their homes in particular, while the surrounding homes have access to it as well. There are several instances of small pockets of homes that do not have access to green light. And they've been frustrated in their ability to get any particulars from Greenlight of why this is the case. They would very much like to take advantage of their services and the higher speeds that are said to be available. We've been working on, your office, Bill, has been working to establish contact with representatives of Greenlight and have invited them to the next public works meeting to discuss their criteria and the underserved areas and alternatives. So hopefully they will be in attendance at next meeting. Unfortunately, that's a private company, and as much as we can encourage them and invite them, hopefully they'll be responsive. Yes, the issues of speed on Hillside were addressed. The police department has monitored that area in anticipation or with the idea of consideration of various calming alternatives. First, to see what the experience is there. The volume of northbound traffic on Hillside was 2,764 vehicles over a 13-day period of August 28th through September 9th, of which 94% were traveling at or below 30 miles an hour. Southbound traffic volume was 2,242 vehicles, of which 96% were traveling below 30 miles an hour. There were a few isolated incidents of higher speed. Only 1% were in excess of 40 miles an hour. We will continue to monitor traffic there. It was at least one instance of a very excessive speed, which is outrageous, but nonetheless, the question is whether it warrants traffic calming measures. Along those lines, Brooklawn Avenue will see the installation of temporary speed humps this fall, and the department will notify residents along Brookline regarding the installation of those speed humps prior to implementation. We also discussed grease trap covers. Dan Amon, town clerk, has been pursuing the status of the legislation and control of those grease traps because of recent tragedy of a child being lost in one of these devices. It appears, however, as Dan reported, that the September 10th county legislative meeting will address a countywide.
They did pass that last night.
It was passed last night, so it's now covered by county regulation and legislation. Also, there's discussion of the phase 2 of the Winters Farm Market, and a proposal will be presented tonight to authorize Insight Architecture to proceed with design of phase 2 of the Winters Farm Market structure, which we have over on in the Buckland Park there. Phase 2 would include interior renovation to the barn, extension of public utilities to the barn, and create a crosswalk at the southern end of the Brickyard Trail, which will allow access to the Winter Farmers Market parcel. And that design would be in anticipation of letting the project for bid. Is that correct, Mike?
Yes, yes.
Thanks. Also, there was a discussion of a new, call it subdivision, I suppose, on Clover Street. It's an extension of Clover on the, help me, north side of East Avenue, where there are 3 undeveloped parcels. Greg McMahon, engineer, presented a proposed development on the west side of Clover, just north of Clover and Greenway. The project includes combining 3 existing lots into a single parcel and constructing a single-family home. The driveway serving the proposed home would be located within the town right-of-way and require the removal of several town trees. The removal of these trees would be in accordance with Chapter 175 of the Town Code and will likely require a public hearing because there are various dimensions within that criteria. And the developer will confer with the DPW regarding the process required to remove any town trees. And the next committee meeting would be October the 8th at 9:00 a.m. and the public is encouraged to attend.
Thank you, Chris. Moving on to new business, reading and approval of claims. Jason?
Yes, earlier this evening, I reviewed claims totaling $583,198.32. Notable claims include the Concrete Applied Technologies Corp. in the amount of $268,461.77, representing payment for the ongoing construction of the Highland Crossing Trail as per the board-approved contract. Also to Iroquois Rock Products in the amount of $40,730.36 for asphalt for paving and maintenance of town roads, which included the Village Lane project. Also to Maine Motor Car in the amount of $26,919.82, representing payment for the purchase and delivery of a 2019 Dodge Charger Police Cruiser per the 2019 Capital Improvement Plan. Also to the Monroe County Director of Finance in the amount of $10,125.26 for annual membership dues in the Monroe County Stormwater Coalition. Finally, to Scanex Pipe Services in the amount of $10,755 for payment for services related to the ongoing sewer rehabilitation program per the 2019 CIP. The claims all appear to be in order, and I move that they be approved.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember DePonzio.
Aye.
Councilmember Werner.
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt.
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado.
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy.
Aye. Chris?
Next item is for appropriation of insurance recovery funds in the amount of $1,540 to both the expense and revenue in the Highway Department Vehicle Repairs Expense Account and Insurance Recovery Account, respectively. I move that we adopt the resolution before us.
Second.
Discussion on that? Hearing none, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember DePonzio.
Aye.
Councilmember Werner.
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt.
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado.
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy.
Aye. Robin?
The next matter seeks to authorize the supervisor to execute an amendment to an agreement with Insight Architecture, LLP, for additional design and bid services related to Phase 2 of the Winter Farmers Market barn renovation at a cost not to exceed $37,500. I move that we adopt the resolution as prepared by the attorney to the town.
Second.
This is, as Mike alluded, to develop plans for Phase 2 of the project. Further discussion? Hearing none, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember DePonzio.
Aye.
Councilmember Werner.
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt.
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado.
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy.
Aye. Christine?
The next matter seeks to declare various computers, servers, and a projector as surplus for disposal as junk to be placed in an electronics recycling program. I move that we adopt the resolution before us.
Discussion on that? You have the list of items that will be disposed of there. Hearing none, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember DePonzio.
Aye.
Councilmember Werner.
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt.
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado.
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy.
Aye. These last two items of new business both relate to the budget development process. As we have talked, and as we talk about every year, the budget development process is exactly that. It's a process. It's a process that we strive to make as open as possible and as responsive to the needs of the community as possible. We have completed the development of our 3-year capital improvement plan. Working from that plan, the finance director and myself are working on a proposed budget. We will be able to share that completed budget at a future meeting, and we will be holding public hearings as required by law. In fact, more than required by law. State law requires 1 public hearing, but as we do each year, we'll be holding 2 at our 2 October meetings so that you, but just as importantly, the public, can examine the budget, examine the priorities, share with us whether they match their priorities to get us to a place where we are spending your money as wisely for the services that you are looking to see as effectively as we can. I would note that the first of those 2 meetings, the October 10th meeting, has been moved to Thursday, October 10th, reflecting the Yom Kippur holiday. So with that, I'll turn to you, Jason, for both of these. If you'd take action on the first one.
With respect to the matter to set public hearings for October 10th and October 23rd, 2019, to consider adoption of the proposed supervisors 2020 preliminary operating and capital improvement budgets, I move we adopt the resolution as prepared by the attorney to the town.
Second.
Discussion. Hearing none, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember DePonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado?
Aye.
Supervisor Manley?
Aye. And the second one.
And also to set public hearings for October 10, 2019 and October 23, 2019, to consider adoption of the proposed 2020 assessment goals for service charges, maintenance charges, capital improvements, and sewer rent charges for special improvement districts within the town. I move we adopt the resolution as prepared by the attorney to the town.
Second.
Discussion? I would just note that whereas the first of those two resolutions related to the operating and capital improvement budget themselves, this relates to the various special districts and other service charges that the town provides as services to our residents, generally upon their request, as we discussed tonight with those refuse districts. So we have motion and a second. Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember DePonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado?
Aye.
Supervisor Manley?
Aye. Matters of the supervisor, I did already discuss a little bit the budget and where we're at in that process. We are fast approaching, we're not there yet, but we are fast approaching leaf season, leaf pickup season. We do continue to do our lawn and garden debris work. And broken record time, I do want to remind, maybe that's the problem. Some of our residents don't remember records. Maybe that's the problem.
Is there another analogy?
Yeah, we got to do better than that. But please, whether we're talking about lawn and garden debris as you do some fall cleanup, or whether we're talking leaves when our beautiful trees finally shed them, please do not put them in the street, in the gutter. Pile them on your tree lawn, the area between your sidewalk and the street, or if you don't have a sidewalk, pile them on your lawn. We will be out to pick them up. It causes danger to drivers, to pedestrians, and to cyclists when you pile debris in the street. Cars have to swerve to miss them, sometimes miss seeing people. Always terrifies me at the thought that kids like to play in leaf piles. Please, don't put those leaf piles in the street. But also it poses risk for drainage. Those leaves, those other debris clog up our storm drains, cause neighborhood flooding. So for all of those reasons, please, please, please pile your leaves on your lawn, on your tree lawn. We will get them. We will remove them. Our crews are going around. I followed one today for a while. Our packer truck picking up containerized debris. This time of year, there isn't as much of that, and we're making very fast progress around town with those trucks. But give them a hand, give your neighbors a hand, keep those items on your front lawn. That's all I have. Matters of the attorney to the town.
Nothing, thank you.
Thank you. Matters of the town clerk.
Just a reminder for folks, we're in school tax collection. The due date for installment number 1 is, as Chris pulls his bill out to give me later. The first installment shows on your bill as being due Sunday. I will not be here collecting payments on Sunday, nor will staff. However, anytime it falls on a weekend, just as a reminder, it goes forward to the next business day. So human nature will be that we inevitably will split our taxpayers between Friday and Monday. Happens every time on a weekend. It's very interesting from a sociological perspective. But just so you know, again, Monday is the actual due date for that. And as always, in person at the M&T branches here in town, South Clinton and Monroe Avenue, or the payment drop box here at Town Hall.
Which will be open on the weekend.
Which is 24/7, correct.
Thank you, Dan. Matters of the board.
I did just want to highlight some of our rec programs. Our fall registration has begun and classes are starting as soon as this week. And we do invite you to check out all of our available programs and community events listed in our recreation brochure. Registration is required for most programs and may be done online, by mail, or in person at our recreation department at 220 Idlewood Road. In addition to that, you can register now for the after-school program that Brighton Rec offers for the 2019-2020 school year. We still have a few openings for the fall. Brighton Recreation offers one of the only fully flexible after-school programs in the area for children attending Brighton schools in 1st through 5th grades. No membership is required, and you pay only for the days that you attend. We are registered with the New York State Office of Children and Family Services and have high staff ratios to ensure a safe, fun program for your child. So please do check us out on the website at www.townofbrighton.org/rec. And we do have our fall recreation special programming events coming up. On Friday, October 18th, we will have our sensory-friendly trick-or-treating at the Brighton Town Hall. This event is free, but pre-registration is required. Please bring a non-perishable food item for the Brighton Food Cupboard. In addition to that, our Fall Festival will be on Saturday, October 19th, again here at Brighton Town Hall in the library complex from 10 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. Again, this event is free, but we do ask that you register for planning purposes. And again, we ask that you bring a non-perishable food item for our Brighton Food Cupboard. On Friday, October 25th, we will have our Halloween Happy House. That will be from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. And again, this event is free, and we ask that we bring items for the Brighton Food Cupboard. And later that evening, from 6 to 9 p.m., we will have the Haunted Grounds at the Buckland Farmhouse from again, that was 6 to 9 p.m. Again, it is free, and we ask that you bring a non-perishable item for the food cupboard. And that is the extent of my rec update. Thank you.
Thank you. A few people have, been asking me whether my friend Farmer Bill will be there for the Family Fun Fall Festival, and I'll make sure he knows that October 19th is the day that he should be there.
Always welcome.
Can I have a motion to go into executive? I'm sorry, is there anyone else, any other board items that any board members have? Hearing none, can I have a motion to go into executive session to discuss the employment of particular people in the highway and police departments?
So moved.
Second.
That time, definitely Robin won. Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember DeFonzio. Aye. Councilmember Werner.
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt.
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado.
Aye.
Supervisor Mailing.
Aye. Thank you, everybody. Have a good evening. Our next town board meeting will be held on September 25th, 2019, 7 o'clock, right here. Good night, everybody.